Imagine a root vegetable so valuable that a Roman emperor accepted it as currency. A plant so intensely sweet that for centuries it was the definition of sugar before cane arrived in the West. It graced the tables of kings, sustained monks through freezing winters, and offered a flavor profile that makes the modern parsnip taste like cardboard. Yet, if you walk into a supermarket today, you will not find it. You will not even find a space on the shelf where it used to be. This is not a story about a crop that failed because it was weak or because it tasted bad. In fact, it was abandoned for the exact opposite reason. It was too complex, too wild, and too distinct for a food system that demands uniformity above all else. We traded the sweetest root in history for a convenient orange stick that fits deeper into a plastic bag. This is the story of Skirret, the forgotten sugar of the soil, and the industrial choice that erased it from our collective memory. Welcome to Ancestral Yields. If you believe that the best food is not always found in the grocery store aisle, and you want to uncover the lost crops of history, please like this video and subscribe. We are digging up the past to feed the future, and we want you growing right alongside us. To understand why we lost Skirret, you first have to understand what it is. Sium sisarum is not just another root crop. It is a botanical anomaly in the vegetable garden. Most of the roots we eat today, like carrots, parsnips, and turnips, are biennials. You plant them, they grow for a season. You kill them to eat them. And then you have to start over from seed the next year. They are a cycle of constant labor. Skirret is different. It is a hardy perennial. It plays the long game. Plant it once, and it establishes a permanent colony. Below the soil, it does not form a single, polite taproot. Instead, it explodes into a cluster of twisted, white fingers known as fascicles. It looks less like a vegetable and more like a hidden treasure hoard. This root system is an energy battery. Because the plant is designed to survive brutal winters, it packs these roots with intense concentrations of natural sugars to act as antifreeze. But this isn't just about survival. The lab results tell a startling story of what we gave up. When you strip away the marketing, the modern orange carrot is mostly water, about 88% of it. It contains roughly 10% dry matter. Skirret is a different beast entirely, boasting a dry matter content of up to 18%. That means for every bite you are getting nearly double the actual sustenance and mineral density compared to the watered-down crops of modern agriculture. And then there are the numbers that matter for energy. A standard grocery store carrot averages about 4.7 grams of sugar per 100 grams. Skirret obliterates that figure, clocking in between 10 to 15 grams of sugar per 100 grams depending on the frost. That is a threefold increase in caloric density. But the real shock comes in the micronutrients. We are taught to eat carrots for health, yet they only offer a meager 5.9 milligrams of vitamin C per serving. Skirret delivers upwards of 25 milligrams, more than 4 times the antioxidant punch. This is the plant's superpower. While other crops rot or turn bitter when the ground freezes, Skirret gets better. The colder it gets, the sweeter it becomes. It is nearly indestructible by frost, thriving in zones where delicate annuals would perish. It is a biological promise of abundance that requires almost no input to keep its word. This resilience made Skirret a celebrity in the ancient world. This was not originally peasant food meant only for the starving. It was high cuisine. The Roman Emperor Tiberius was so obsessed with the specific flavor of Skirret that he refused to eat the varieties grown in the hot Italian soil. He demanded that his supply be imported directly from the cooler climate of the Rhineland. heavily taxing the local population not in gold, but in roots. To the elite of Rome, this was not just a vegetable, it was a confection. For centuries after the fall of Rome, Skirret held its ground. In medieval Europe, it was known as chervin or krummek, and it was a staple of the monastic garden. The monks, who were the master agriculturalists of their day, valued it for a specific reason: the hungry gap. In the agricultural calendar, there is a terrifying window in late winter and early spring. The stored grain is running low, the apples are rotting in the cellar, and the new spring greens have not sprouted yet. This is when people starved. But Skirret, being perennial and cold-hardy, could be dug up right out of the semi-frozen mud in March. It provided a burst of sugar and starch when the larder was empty. It was boiled, stewed, or most famously, battered and fried into sweet fritters. It was the bridge that carried communities from the dark of winter into the light of spring. It reigned supreme for 1,000 years. So, how did a plant with such a royal pedigree and practical utility vanish so completely? The downfall of Skirret didn't come from a disease or a pest. It came from a shift in human psychology triggered by the agricultural revolution of the 17th century. This was the era where farming began to move away from subsistence, growing to eat, toward the market, growing to sell. Enter the orange carrot. Before the 1600s, carrots were purple, white, or yellow, and often woody. But Dutch breeders, in a fit of patriotic science, began refining a strain of carrot that was distinctively orange, the color of the House of Orange, the ruling family of the Netherlands. But they did not just breed for color, they bred for geometry. The new Dutch carrot was straight, it was smooth, it was uniform. It was a single tapering cone that could be pulled from the ground in one motion and wiped clean with a single cloth. It was the perfect unit of commerce. Skirret stood no chance against this visual revolution. In the market stall, the human eye is drawn to bright colors and clean lines. The twisted, white, gnarly fingers of the Skirret looked messy and primitive next to the sleek, modern carrot. We began to eat with our eyes, prioritizing the aesthetic of the vegetable over the complexity of its flavor. The carrot was the soldier of the Industrial Revolution, uniform and obedient. Skirret was the wild poet, complex, messy, and impossible to standardize. But it wasn't just about looks. As agriculture scaled up, it collided with Skirret's physical anatomy. If you bite into a raw Skirret root, you will find crisp, white flesh. In older roots, there is often a thin, woody core running down the center, much like the string in an old-fashioned green bean. To eat it, you have to cook it and slip the core out, or breed the plant carefully to minimize it. It requires a moment of patience at the dinner table. Furthermore, those clustered roots, the fascicles that make it so productive, are a nightmare for machinery. They trap dirt. You cannot simply run a cluster of Skirret through an industrial tumble washer or a mechanical peeler. It requires a human hand to break the cluster and wash the soil from the crevices. When the tractor and the processing plant took over the farm, Skirret was fired. It was deemed inefficient. The industrial food system is based on speed and volume, not flavor and nutrition. A crop that demands care, a crop that cannot be harvested by a combine and washed by a high-pressure jet, is a crop that has no future in a capitalist supply chain. So the seed catalogs stopped carrying it. The farmers stopped planting it. And within 2 generations, the emperor's root was relegated to a weed, surviving only in the corners of botanical gardens and the memories of the very old. However, the very traits that made Skirret a failure for big agriculture make it a miracle for the backyard gardener. If you are tired of the annual grind, the tilling, the sowing, the thinning, and the replanting, Skirret is your exit strategy. This is the ultimate lazy gardener's crop. Because it is perennial, you only buy the seed or crown once. To harvest, you simply dig up a mature clump, snap off the fattest, whitest fingers for your kitchen, and then put the crown back in the hole. It will regrow. It is an infinite food hack. You are not depleting your stock. You are managing a living colony. In the kitchen, the woody core scares people off. But it should not. When roasted, the core often softens or can be easily pulled away. The flavor is a revelation. It has the sweetness of a carrot, but with a nutty, aromatic depth that hints of parsley and parsnip. It is sophisticated. It tastes like history. For the permaculture designer, Skirret is a weapon. It thrives in the understory of fruit trees, filling that shady niche where sun-loving vegetables fail. It creates a calorie-rich ground cover that suppresses weeds and pulls nutrients from the soil, offering a yield from space that usually sits empty. The story of Skirret is a reminder that progress in agriculture often means a loss of quality. We sacrifice the sweetest root in Europe for the convenience of a vegetable that is easy to peel. We allowed the machine to dictate our diet, narrowing the vast biodiversity of the past down to a handful of crops that fit nicely into a shipping crate. But we can choose to opt out of that system. Growing Skirret today is an act of botanical rebellion. It is a rejection of supermarket aesthetics and a reclaiming of flavor. It is a statement that you are willing to get your hands dirty to taste something the Emperor Tiberius valued more than gold. It is time to bring the crummock back to the table. It is time to plant a legacy that returns year after year, sweeter with every frost, defying the industrial winter. If you're ready to fill your garden with crops that history forgot, but the soil remembers, hit that subscribe button for Ancestral yields. We have more forgotten harvests to uncover, and the best way to fight the system is to grow your own. See you in the garden.